Joining us on this edition of Noble Newsmakers, we're going to continue our discussion on the reaction to the George Floyd video, as well as what communities and law enforcement leaders are doing. This afternoon, we're going to have joining us, well, actually this morning, still live, almost not quite afternoon here on the East Coast, but we'll have Prince George's County of Maryland, Sheriff Melvin High. Sheriff High, welcome.
Good afternoon. Good morning.
Noble. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll jump right into the conversation. Video came out earlier this week. We saw the incident there in Minneapolis, or the death of George Floyd. What was your reaction as an African-American man, a father, a police sheriff, having police experience as well? What, those three different viewpoints, how did you react?
Well, I'm outraged on all three fronts. I feel like here we go again, deja vu, you know? And you must know that in my career in policing, I've spoken to African-Americans from all walks of life who told me stories about interactions with police, not good interactions, where they felt demeaned or that they had been targeted specifically because they were African-American. It gives me concern for my friends and family members, especially the men in my family, when they're traveling around for work purposes or for any purpose. Sheriff, it's a letdown. It undermines my confidence in the sense that a chief or sheriff as leadership is responsible for our organizations and what our people do. We have to take some blame for not achieving the change that we all know is required. Any of us need only to read or view the Department of Justice various consent decrees or memorandum of agreement, or reading the Obama era Commission 21st Century Policing document to know that we began a review and revised process that could have propelled our profession into a new level of best practices policing. These incidents say we've fallen short of those goals.
When you talk about that 21st century policing as an option, you know, what kind of things are you doing there at the Sheriff's Office in Prince George's County to kind of implement some of those, or certainly put your officers and your community in a place to hopefully avoid an incident like we saw earlier this week?
Absolutely. I think I look at the 21st Century Report as a guidebook to things and changes that we need to make. But I believe that leadership is at the forefront of success. Sometimes we're a lot of talk instead of impactful action. I believe the 21st Century Report is a call to action for leadership and for every level of law enforcement in America and perhaps even the world. We have to be what we say we are to earn and keep the trust of the community. Saying my agency has an early warning system as an example, but not using it to identify officers who need more or better training or who should not be in law enforcement entirely is not leadership. It's called an early warning system because it alerts you to a potential problem inside the agency that we need to proactively take corrective action before it results in an incident within the community. In my view,
absolutely understand that. And I think that there are a lot of our law enforcement leaders that talk about those early warning systems when they see incidents, we see behaviors. How do you intervene? I think that was one of the concerns we also saw in the video, was a duty to intervene as far as officers. And for your agency, is there a duty to intervene?
There's a duty to intervene. You know, at the core, at the undergirding of the oath we take is a reverence for life, where we take enforcement action, but when we get to a place where someone utters a cry for help, we're supposed to bring that help. And it comes out of our desire to respect and care reverently for all life, regardless of whose life it is. And so when this gentleman called out for help and said that he couldn't breathe, I believe the officer's responsibility reverted from enforcement to life-saving.
Definitely understand that. And as we kind of look forward as an organization, Noble touts itself and being the conscience of law enforcement. We want to get our members, our chiefs, our sheriffs, all behind that movement, because we certainly hear a call for change. And what do you think that we as Noble, our members, our leaders, what can we do as an organization to bring about that change?
Well, Noble has national and worldwide standards police profession, but broader than that, in our political forums and our various communities. And so we can't squander this standing that Noble has. Noble has to be an advocate for best practice training policies, and it should be the place where there's a spotlight for the best in the policing profession. And so Noble has to live up to that challenge and that responsibility as a national and worldwide leader in law enforcement. And I know we can do that. And to project the idea that there cannot be a universal use of force policy, I think there can be. I think Noble has to project that we can, as a profession, say, just like they have standards in law and in medicine, et cetera, we got to have standards, national, international, universal standards in law enforcement, certainly around the issue of use of force. And so I think Noble has to lead that conversation, has to talk to that larger issue and provide a forum, a platform for that larger conversation, not only within the police profession, but within our political leaders, both at the municipal, local, state, and national level and international level, to talk about this issue of use of force and the challenge around getting it to a better place.
I definitely agree that there as well. And so the community is certainly in the midst of turmoil right now in Minneapolis, and we've seen a lot of the things that have happened in that city. And on top of that tension, there's the health situation as well. And so we're still in the middle of a global pandemic. It may not be the leading news line that's going on as well. And so I ask you, just, in general, how are you and your officers, your deputies, how are you all handling being on the front lines of a global pandemic right now too?
Well, it's certainly a challenge for all of our communities, but the one great thing about America, and certainly in American policing, is we're resilient. And so I believe we'll come out of this issue on the other side and be better, and we'll overcome the challenges and difficulties. Just as I still believe strongly that we can overcome the challenges and difficulties that law enforcement is faced with use of force issues and crime and violence in our various communities. I believe America is a great place, a premier place in the world, and we have great learned individuals. We have all of the capacity we need to make the change. We just have to sit down and decide that that's what we're going to do, and so we can create that change that we need to have.
Awesome. Well, Sheriff High, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us today. We certainly appreciate your insight, your wisdom, and your guidance. Thank you for all of your deputies and what you do to help protect us in our communities. And so we thank you for taking time out, answering those questions, and helping us, inspiring us to continue for that change.
Well, let me thank Noble for all of what you do. You are a premier public safety organization, and so we look to you to take us forward.
All right. Thank you again, Sheriff High. We appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us for this edition of Noble Newsmakers. I'm Keenan James, your Deputy Director, and we'll catch you on the next edition of Noble Newsmakers.